Hello everyone, this is Bertina Amy here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm happy to be a part of this Halloween collaboration hosted by Claire's Crafty Corner, and the playlist will be linked in the description box below. So for this collaboration, I decided to do 6 DIY Dollar Tree Halloween decor crafts. So for this first craft, I decided to pick up one of those packs of wooden DIY ornament kits. And instead of using each one individually, I decided to glue pieces together, and I decided to split them in half and glue 4 together and another 4 together to make 2 separate ornaments. But I didn't actually turn mine into ornaments. You can if you want to, but I am going to turn one of my other ones into a magnet. It's not shown in this video though. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue 4 pieces together using Elmer's glue and glue the other 4 pieces together, and then I'm going to paint the entire surface of it with black chalk paint. Then once dry, I'm going to do just one of them and turn it into a fuzzy black cat using the fuzzy black yarn you can get from Dollar Tree. I'm simply just going to glue the yarn over the top of the surface, and I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to add these little golden gems to make eyes for the cat. And the back part I'm going to leave totally flat so that I can go ahead and attach a magnet to the back just using regular glue or even super glue if you want. So here is the fuzzy black cat with golden bright eyes. So in this next project, I decided to do another one of these DIY ornament kits from Dollar Tree made of the flat wood pieces, and I decided I was going to go ahead and kind of repeat similar steps. I take Elmer's glue and I just glue pieces together. These come in packs of 8, and I decided to later just do 3 of the 8, but I glue 2 pieces together at first, bringing it down to 4, and then I just select 3 of them and decide to finish the project that way. So Dollar Tree also sells black felt nowadays, and I pick up a roll of that, as well as this sort of metallic fuchsia pipe cleaners, and I decide that I'm just going to glue the felt surrounding the wooden piece, and I do my best to cover the surface as close to the surface as possible. You can still, of course, turn this into an ornament by making sure to add string or twine into the hole before you glue the felt on, and that way you can actually hide the twine rather than having it wrapped around on the outside of the hat itself. So this would actually look better. So basically I'm just gluing the wooden pieces onto the felt and then cutting as close to the edge of it as possible, leaving enough to just be able to glue onto the edge of the hat, if that makes sense. And then once that's all done, then glue the other side onto the felt and trimming around the edges as close to the edge as possible, so that way it covers it completely. I hope that makes sense. I repeat that 3 times, and then I pull out the pipe cleaners and I make them all the metallic fuchsia color. You can choose to alternate colors if you'd like, but basically I take one piece out, I bend it in half, twist it upon itself because that way it makes it more closer to the correct length and size. And then I happened to be thinking about, I really wanted a buckle for the hat, and then it stumbled upon me that while I was drinking a soda to go ahead and use a pop can tab. And so I pull that off, and then I basically string through the pipe cleaner within the pop can tab to make it look like a buckle. I repeat that for the other 2 hats, and that's the end of this project. I really love the way this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So for this next project, another one of these DIY Dollar Tree ornaments made of wood, and I am doing the ghost one, which I thought would look really cute, and I really thought it'd be awesome to make it a glow-in-the-dark ghost. So what I do is I start out by spreading all the pieces out. I poke out the holes of some of the pieces have like little wooden pieces within the hole where you would put a string or twine through, and I poke all that out for the ones that are still there, and then I decided to paint it all with white kind of to prime it. And I ran out of the original glow-in-the-dark stuff I used to use back in the olden days, and I was hoping to find that same brand, but unfortunately I was not able to find that where I was shopping at the time, and had to go with the Craftsmart brand of the glow-in-the-dark paint. And just in case, because I don't trust Craftsmart to have really good quality as it was, I also pick up this glow-in-the-dark yarn from Joann Fabrics, and that way it also has 2 variations of texture once dried. But basically I glue 2 pieces of the wooden pieces together and take the glow-in-the-dark yarn and glue it along the edge around 2 or 3 times to sort of give it, in a sense, a edge along the surface, so that if I poured paint on there, it won't just droop all the way to the table surface. And that worked out well, except that this paint took forever to dry. And if I were to do this project again, I would just keep searching for a different brand of glow-in-the-dark paint. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions. But all in all, this probably isn't my favorite of all the DIY wooden crafts that I did in this video, but it was certainly, definitely an experience, let's put it like that. I do like the glow-in-the-dark aspect for sure. I just wish it would last longer once the light was turned off, and maybe just due to lack of time I wasn't able to charge it up with the light, but there it is anyways. So this next project, I wanted to get a little bit more creative than the previous ones, and I decided to go ahead and make one piece out of the 8 wooden pieces. And again, it's another one of these DIY Dollar Tree wooden ornament kits, and it comes 8 in a pack, and I went with the jack-o'-lantern pumpkin version from the Halloween section, and I glue all 8 pieces together with Elmer's glue. Then I use super heavy gesso and use that to smooth out the edges of the pumpkin. I don't own a sanding block, so this was my alternative. And if you don't own a lot of different supplies like myself, I had plenty of these popsicle sticks that I also picked up from the Dollar Tree for a previous project, so I used that as my tool for applying the super heavy gesso. And once completed, I go ahead and let that dry until fully dry. I think I gave it like overnight, probably about a couple hours should do the trick, depending on how thick of a layer you're putting on. But basically, once dry, I take some scrap tissue paper. Any color doesn't matter because I'm going to cover it completely with paint anyways, but I tear it up to pieces. I use Mod Podge and Mod Podge it completely over it, and I poke out the openings of the eyes, nose, and mouth, and I try to make sure to adhere it within the inside of those openings using the Mod Podge. And then once dry, I go ahead and cover it completely with black chalk paint. And with these ornament kits, you are certainly welcome to keep them as ornaments or make them as their intended purposes, but you're also not required to either, and I decided to try to show you ways to kind of think outside the box for these little kits. And if you've been following my channel, you'll know that when I do these DIY Dollar Tree crafts as 3D pieces, I really love adding texture to my pieces, and that's where the tissue paper comes in. And it's really easy to accumulate tissue paper just from birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, etc. And I like to save them for these craft purposes. But anyways, instead of using my usual black chalk paint as a primer, I'm just using basic white acrylic paint from Apple Barrel to cover it completely as a primer before applying my actual pumpkin color. You don't have to go with the traditional orange. I really wanted to, but the only orange I had was a little bit too bright for my liking, so I take some brown paint, mix it with it until I was happy with the shade of orange I achieved. You can also see that I did a coat of brown paint on the base of it before applying the orange paint over top, just because I wanted it to have the darker shades underneath where there's all these crevices from the tissue paper itself. And I wanted the orange to be like the pop of color over top. I did water down the orange paint before applying it as well, and then I kept adding it on until I was satisfied with the way it looked. And whenever I can, I like to use the entire contents of the whole kit, and in this case, I thought, you know what, this is where I'm going to go ahead and use the twine that it came with. And this kit from the Halloween crafts, for some reason, is the twine is thinner than the twine received in previous craft kits from over the summer. So I take the pieces, and they come in just 8, one for each, and I decide to take 2 each and just like twist them together and attach them in a way to sort of create that look that you'd expect of a pumpkin with that indentation area, but instead I'm using the twine to sort of achieve that sort of appearance. I hope that's making sense. But I basically apply it over the top, along the sides and things like that, to try to give it some curvature, to give it sort of a 3D look. And artistically speaking, I didn't think 4 of these looked good enough, and so since there were other kits that I had done that came with the twine, I had more than enough of the twine to go ahead and create one down the center. And so I just took 2 more pieces and repeated the process, except that I wrapped it around the stem part of this jack-o'-lantern / pumpkin, and then twisted it together and then glued it in the back. And in this particular 3D image of the pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern, I clearly am focusing more on the front side. You can of course trim towards the bottom and repeat the same look on the opposite side if you wish. And as you can see, I'm using a combination of hot glue, Elmer's glue, and Mod Podge to help adhere and permanently attach and seal the twine onto the pumpkin itself. And I really think that that turned out pretty cool. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So for this next project, I decided to do a DIY Dollar Tree Halloween wreath. And this is my first time trying to do a wreath using the bare bones of the wreath form and Deco mesh and tulle. And I wanted to add in floral stems as well. And I've watched a couple of tutorials on YouTube on how to attach them there and like what styles to make them look nice and things like that. There's so many ways that you can create DIY wreaths using Dollar Tree products, and I hadn't seen anyone using floral stems along with them, at least not the ones that I'd watched, and I really wanted to see how it would turn out if I did it that way. And I really wanted to use the specific floral stems that I picked up from Dollar Tree because I really love the two-tone look of the flowers that I picked up. I thought they were so pretty. So anyways, without further ado, basically I picked up the largest wreath form from Dollar Tree and some tulle and some Deco mesh and this Deco mesh tubing and pipe cleaners that I had from the previous project. I still had plenty of those. And I realized as I was making this that I did not pick up enough Deco mesh or tulle. And I had leftover tulle from the project where I did a DIY tutu for my daughter. And figuring that the base of this, I really wanted to be mostly black, I thought this was going to be perfect. And I still kind of ran out and had to get more tulle from Dollar Tree because originally I didn't buy any tulle from Dollar Tree. If I were to do this project again, I would have just tried to make sure I bought more than enough. And I just didn't think I needed that many. I thought that that would have been enough, but, you know, lesson learned. Anyways, so I go ahead and cut them up to the sizing that I thought would be appropriate. Mine's about like 8 inches long, and I just scrunch it up in the middle and attach at where I put the pipe cleaners, and I add in pipe cleaners as I go. And the other pipe cleaners I use are like a black pipe cleaner, and the tulle from Joann Fabrics is actually a glow-in-the-dark ghost glittery tulle. I tried to avoid too much glitter because frankly I don't really want it like all over my house, so I did the best I could, but when it came down to it, it's really hard to completely avoid. When you find something that you really like, it's kind of like, well, I don't know that I'm gonna find anything else I'm gonna like as much, so you know, a little glitter here and there I guess is never gonna hurt anyone, right? So I really like the way this ends up turning out. I didn't want a whole lot of the ghost tulle because I didn't want to overdo it and I didn't want it to be too busy looking. So I really wanted more of a basic black with some hints of color here and there. So I go around the entire areas with basically some kind of a pattern between the different shades of tulle, like solid black. I had the ghost tulle, then I had this, it was like just a black tulle with like these little white dots on them that are glittery from Dollar Tree, and the Deco mesh that I had. I originally was hoping to make it fuller using just the Deco mesh, and like I said, if it's a possibility for you to, if you want to recreate something like this or similar to this, definitely get, gosh, I would say probably 3 or 4 rolls. I think it might be, if you're doing the largest wreath form. Unless you do the smaller one, you might need less. But we'll see how it goes when I try to do a Christmas one later on. But anyways, just do the best you can. If you have to go back to the store, it's okay. You just, the color, depending if it's the most common color, may be out by the time you look, because I did try going shopping and finding it, and it was already out, unfortunately. I did end up having to redo this wreath, like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 times, something like that. It just, because I was trying to figure out the right pattern, and then I would keep running out of something like tulle or the Deco mesh, and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get all this to work and be enough before I even attach the floral stems. And so I finally came up with a pattern that I was more satisfied with, and then just ran with it, and then used floral stems to cover up any sort of gaps. I guess it wasn't really, I tried to fluff it up enough to where the gaps aren't obvious, but it's not necessarily as full as maybe some other creators might want it to be. And I'm okay with it because I knew I was going to add in floral stems, and I really wanted the floral stems to be more of the star anyway. I just wanted more like the Deco mesh, the tulle, to be like background things, if that makes any sense. So for this last part, I'm adding a pop of color with purple at the back of the wreath, using the last ring of the wreath and just pushing the purple in the back and pulling the black towards the front, if that makes sense. And then I take my floral stems, pull off all the florals and pieces and things, and I just alternate the colors between my favorite colors combined, and I felt that black and purple looked really nice, and I just glued them in the center of the Deco mesh pieces all around the whole entire wreath. I also go ahead and add some sprigs to kind of make it look a little bit more spooky. So here I'm hoping I'm giving you ideas on what you could do with your own wreath by adding the cute witch boots and hat, and showing you what signs you could also add to it as well. And you don't have to add them permanently, you could just actually hang them from the hanger when you hang your wreath. And for this last project, I'm doing this DIY Halloween centerpiece that you could easily put on your dining room table. And I am starting out first with the DIY glass frame box that I made. I'll try to make sure to include the link to the video where I did this DIY glass frame, but basically I'm going to use this as my case to hold my floral arrangement. I picked up this small circular round floral foam from Dollar Tree, and so I go ahead and decide to take the floral leaves from the floral stems, and I wanted to cover up the corners of the inside part of the case, and I just glue them in because even though I intend to use this also for a future project and repurpose it over and over again, I really just want to cover up these corners anyways, so I'm just going to glue at least 4 corners in, and then I take the remainder of the leaves and I decide to layer them one on top of another so that it creates what kind of looks to me like a flower. They do end up with those sort of plastic tubes at the back of them, so I cut those off as well, just so I could glue them in the corners and to attach them to one another. So then I go ahead and take the floral foam and my floral stems, and I decide to go ahead and start up making the Halloween floral arrangement, and I decided to keep the plastic on the floral foam because I honestly don't like the feeling of what they feel like when the plastic is removed, so I leave it on, and I decided to go ahead and make my arrangement and permanently glue them in with hot glue. I don't cut off the plastic tubes in the back just because I need that to go ahead and stick through to inside of the floral foam itself. So similar to making the DIY wreath, I go ahead and make the arrangement, just alternating the colors between the black and purple of the floral stems that I had picked up. I did buy 2 of each of the colors, so I end up with plenty of the floral stems as it was. And actually, I think I had one too many or one a little extra. I just had a little extra, but it was more than enough regardless. And anyways, I go ahead and alternate them, and to cover up any sort of gaps, I use the combination of the DIY flowers from the leaves that I did. I use that to fill in the gaps. I also decided to go ahead and use whatever remaining leaves combination of flowers that I created to completely cover up the floral foam itself, because I don't want any part of it being visible, and because when I want to go ahead and change out what's going to be sitting inside this case, I want less pieces to have to go into another container, maybe like a Ziploc bag or something like that, so it's all together. The less I have to worry about dealing with, the better, I think. And I just want to use whatever excess that I can to sort of cover up the imperfections of the bottom of the case. But regardless, I don't want any of this floral foam stuff to actually be visible to anybody. And I also go ahead and add sprigs to the back of the purple flowers as well. I thought it'd be cute to add this spider on top of the case and maybe even glue in the black flower in the center of the purple flower, but decided against it. And then I also picked up these fairy lights from actually Pop Shelf because I was stopping in to check it out, and I wrapped that around the floral arrangement and just lit it up to see what it looked like, and I really loved the way that this turned out. I did try to use Jot's version of the sort of nano tape, and I don't recommend it. I couldn't get it to stick no matter where I tried to stick it onto my case, so I really don't recommend that. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know which of these 6 DIY Dollar Tree Halloween crafts is your favorite. And please consider checking out the other artists in this Halloween collaboration playlist as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.